HaystackColorado.com brings you reliable companies, but also wants to help. If you have a complaint about any company or business, send us a message through the help box right on the homepage of HaystackColorado.com. Haystack Help is made possible by Denver Suzuki, Colorado's #1 Suzuki dealer. Welcome back. DUI charges can have serious implications on your life. Making sure you're fairly represented can make all the difference in proving your innocence. The team at Jansen & Associates is ready to help you fight the charges through the legal system. They believe a good defense is one that engages you as an active team member. Molly Jansen is the owner and partner of Jansen & Associates. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And like we do with all companies that we have on Haystack TV and HaystackColorado.com, we do background checks. So I'm going to let our viewers know what we know and found out about your company.
Absolutely.
You guys are members of the Colorado and Denver Bar Association. They belong to the Colorado Criminal Defense Bar and the National College of DUI Defense Attorneys, and you have no complaints registered with the Better Business Bureau. Today, we're going to be talking about DUIs. And in fact, some people that are watching right now may have just gotten out of detox. Others may know people that have just gotten out of detox.
Right.
Let's first start by saying, in no way do you think that drinking and driving is a good thing. So you always recommend to people, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive.
Right, and my theory, which we've talked about on this show before, is that never drive based on how you feel. That is the worst thing that you can do, because you don't know how your body's absorbing alcohol and what that actual output is going to be if you take a breath or a blood test. And so my rule of thumb to all of my clients, and the message I always want to convey out to the public is, if you're going to drink, don't drive. And if you're drinking, don't even think about getting in the vehicle based on, oh, I feel okay, I'm good to go, because you don't know.
Right. Now let's talk about if someone does make a bad decision. They do drink, they get behind the wheel, and they get pulled over.
Right.
Explain what that process is. What happens, on the side of the road, and then what happens if they get charged?
Sure. Generally, what happens is the stop is pretty typical. You have an officer who pulls you over for some reason, whether you've been in an accident or whether they allege bad driving. Okay, something along the lines of speeding, failing to drive in a single lane, which we call weaving. Sometimes you get pulled over for having a cracked windshield or not having your lights on. So really, they have to have what we call reasonable suspicion to pull you over. At that point, the officer is going to contact you, may or may not ask for your license registration. They're then, if they smell alcohol, going to ask you if you've been drinking. Okay, and at that point, if they suspect you've been drinking, they're going to ask you to get out of the car. There isn't a defense to that. When an officer says get out of the car, it means get out of the car. Right. Okay, you need to comply with that. At that point, they're going to talk to you about doing voluntary roadsides. All right, those are just the tests that people hear about on the side of the road. The key word there that I would really like to highlight today is those are voluntary, which means you don't have to do them. And if you don't do them, they can't use that against you, okay? And so if an officer says, would you like to do voluntary roadsides, our recommendation is no. Okay. The officers have to be certified in roadsides every 2 years. A lot of officers are not performing them and administering them appropriately, so they're coming up with false positives or false failings, okay? And it's not actually a pass or fail, it's a satisfactorily or unsatisfactorily performance on those roadsides. We say don't do them. At that point, they're going to talk to you about taking a breath or a blood test, and at this point, you're generally going to be arrested. Okay. If you do the roadsides and fail, arrested. If you don't do them, likely arrested. And so at that point, you need to make a judgment call. Do I take a breath test? Do I take a blood test? We recommend you take a blood test. There are a lot of consequences if you have a very high alcohol content at the Department of Motor Vehicles, and so we encourage people to think about that. If you are really drunk and you know when you're really drunk and driving, whether you should take a test at all. If you refuse a test, you're looking at a year revocation, and you don't get a red license or an interlock device, you can't drive for a year. So that's a pretty big consequence. However, if your alcohol content is over a 0.170, you're looking at 2 years and a minimum of 4 months of an interlock device. So there's a little bit of decision making that needs to happen on whether refusing is best for you or taking a test. We say take a blood test, don't take a breath test.
Now, with all the pot that's in the news right now, these medical marijuana establishments, I would imagine that's going to be getting more people on the road driving under the influence of marijuana?
That's a really good question, and that's a challenge that the legislature has, that the cities and counties are having right now, is that we do not have a per se. In other words, with alcohol, it's 0.08 for a DUI, 0.05 to 0.079 for a DWAI. There isn't a per se for marijuana, and so that's an issue. And so for everyone that has a medicinal marijuana license, you cannot drive. It doesn't make it okay. That is not a defense for you. If you get caught driving, take a test and indicates that you have marijuana in your system. And so that's something people really need to be careful about, and I don't think they understand necessarily, is that that's not your hall pass for being able to operate a motor vehicle.
All right, well, this is all great information. Again, we want to stress that if you've been smoking marijuana,
Right.
if you've been drinking, don't
drive.
get behind the wheel.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for being here,
Absolutely.
and I'm going to tell our viewers how they can get a hold of you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Jansen & Associates wants to ensure that you're represented fairly and informed about the charges against you before you make a bad decision. They're a criminal defense law firm handling everything from traffic offenses to DUI to major felonies. Call them at 303-832-5400 or visit their website, jansenlegal.com. They offer free consultations. The number again is 303-832-5400. Jansen & Associates paid for this segment. We take a tour inside AutoWorks International Collision Repairs facility, and I find out firsthand what makes them stand out above the rest.